My husband took my kidney, then left me. He didn't know I was the hospital's CEO. The room was too quiet. I heard the soft beep of a monitor beside me. Steady. Cold. A white light blinked above. I couldn't move my left side. A dull pain pulsed beneath the bandages and the weight in my chest. It wasn't just the anesthesia, it was heartbreak. Heavy. Sharp, like a knife left in me. I blinked slowly, trying to remember. Why was I here? What happened? Then I remembered Amir's hand in mine. He kissed my forehead before the surgery. He said, "You're doing something beautiful." I believed him. I always believed him. The nurse told me the truth. She looked down when she spoke, like she was ashamed of the words. "You gave your kidney. The recipient was your husband." My mouth went dry. I whispered, "No, it was his cousin." She just shook her head. Gone. He was gone. No calls, no messages, nothing. The phone number, I knew by heart, disconnected. He took my kidney and vanished, like I was nothing. And in that moment, I wanted to cry, but I didn't. I just stared at the ceiling, breathing through the pain, because Amir thought I was just another woman. Soft, quiet, easy to fool. What he didn't know was who I really was. I am Dr. Samira Khan, CEO of this hospital, the woman he thought he could break. But I wasn't broken. Not yet. And what comes next isn't revenge. It's something colder, sharper. He gave me silence. Now I'll give him consequences. My name is Dr. Samira Khan. I'm 42 years old, and before I was the CEO of one of the top hospitals in the country, I was the daughter of a janitor. My mother, Salma, worked her whole life cleaning hospital floors. She wore the same blue uniform every day, hair tied back, hands always red and dry from bleach. But she walked with pride, because she said, "Even if we clean the floors, we keep people alive." I used to wait for her outside the hospital's back gate. I'd sit with my little school bag, holding a piece of roti and sugar in my hand. She would come out tired, but when she saw me, she'd smile like the whole world didn't matter. She was everything to me. But when I was 14, her kidneys failed. I still remember the sound of the dialysis machine, the coldness of the government hospital room, the way she held my hand and whispered, "Study hard, Samira. Get out of this cycle." She died within months. No one could save her. No money, no donor, just silence. That's the moment I changed, not loudly, not with drama, just quietly, like the first crack in glass. I promised myself I would become a doctor, and I would never let money decide who lives or dies. I studied hard, harder than anyone else I knew. Scholarships, late nights, secondhand books, no sleep, no parties, no distractions. People thought I was strange, but I didn't care. I earned a scholarship to study abroad, finished medical school, specialized in internal medicine. I came back home with a dream, and I started from the bottom again. Resident, then junior doctor, then head of department. 15 years later, I was made CEO. Not because of connections, not because of favors, because I never stopped working, and because I cared. I kept things quiet. No magazine covers, no social media. I wore simple clothes, kept my office in a quiet corner of the hospital. No one knew I ran the place unless they were on the board. Even some of my staff thought I was just a senior doctor. I liked it that way. I didn't want to be admired for my position. I wanted to be trusted for my heart. But somewhere in all that success, I forgot how to live. I had no real friends. No one to come home to. I'd eat dinner alone with the TV on low volume. I kept my mother's old photo in the kitchen, next to the sugar jar. It reminded me of who I was before the white coat. Then, 2 years ago, I met Amir. It was a fundraising event for transplant research. I was standing by the refreshments table, trying to avoid conversation. He walked up beside me. Tall, soft smile, clean suit, not flashy. He reached for a glass of water at the same time I did. We laughed. One of those small, awkward laughs. Then he said, "You look like someone who doesn't enjoy these events." I raised an eyebrow. "That obvious?" He grinned. "You didn't even touch the samosas." That made me smile. The first real smile in weeks. He introduced himself, Amir Raza, a marketing consultant. He said he worked with nonprofits, helping them tell better stories. "You must be in administration," he said. I nodded. "Something like that," I replied. I didn't tell him I was the CEO, not because I was hiding, but because I wanted to see if he'd like me for me. We talked for half an hour, then again at the next event, then coffee, then lunch. He was gentle, curious, funny, and he never made me feel like I had to impress him. He said he loved strong women, said I reminded him of his late mother, who had also raised him alone. That touched something in me. We started dating quietly, no big gestures, just moments, a walk after work, sharing books, him cooking pasta with too much garlic. I told him I was a doctor, that I worked long hours. He respected that. Or at least, he pretended to. He called me my calm storm, and I let myself believe it. Even when little red flags showed up, small things, like how he always needed money until the next project, or how he never liked coming near the hospital. I made excuses. He's just insecure. He doesn't want to feel less than me. I didn't realize. He didn't feel less. He felt nothing. One evening, we were sitting on the balcony of my apartment. The lights of the city flickered below. He leaned his head on my shoulder. He said, "I never knew love could feel like safety." I smiled. Me, neither. And I meant it. I really did. But I should have listened to that tiny voice in the back of my mind, the one that felt a little off every time he touched my phone or avoided eye contact when I asked about his past clients. But I was tired of being alone, tired of being strong all the time. I just wanted someone to hold me, to see me and Amir. He saw me, or at least he saw the parts he could use. If I had told him I was the CEO, would he still have done it? Maybe. Maybe sooner. But I didn't tell him. And still, he betrayed me. I gave him my trust, my home, and eventually, my body, my kidney. All for love. But what he gave me was a lesson, and that lesson would shape everything that came next. Amir didn't move in all at once. He started with a toothbrush, then a drawer, then a few shirts. And before I knew it, he was in my apartment. 5 days a week. "I'll be out of your way," he said. "You won't even notice me." But I noticed. I noticed how he left the kitchen messy, how the laundry piled up, but he never offered to help. How he stayed home most days saying work was slow. And yet, the perfume he wore wasn't mine. Still, I told myself it was okay. He was, adjusting. Life was hard. Love means compromise, right? Then came the first small loan. "Just until the client pays me," he said, handing me a crumpled bill. It's embarrassing, I know. I hate asking. It was 30,000 rupees. I wired it quietly, then came another, and another. Each time followed the same pattern. He'd promise to repay me next week, then disappear for a day or two, then come back with flowers. and silence. I didn't even like flowers. But I liked him. Or at least, the version of him I still believed in. Then came the job referral. "Babe, can you help me get a meeting with your HR? Just a shot at something stable. I want to earn again." I hesitated. "Come on," he said, kissing my forehead. "I don't want to be one of those men who lives off his partner. I just need a start." I agreed. He showed up late to the interview. Wore jeans instead of dress pants. Didn't even bring a resume. HR politely declined. He blamed me. "You set me up to fail," he said that night. "I'm not like your doctor friends." I made him tea. Apologized. I shouldn't have. I started noticing things. He was never around when I was tired. When I came home after back-to-back surgeries, he'd be out. When I needed someone to hold me, he'd be scrolling through his phone. But when he needed something, he was sweet, charming, thoughtful. It felt like I was only lovable when I was useful. And when I wasn't, he turned cold. Not yellin', just distance, a silent punishment. And then came the guilt. "You're always workin'." "I'm just trying to build a future with you. Sometimes I feel like I'm invisible to you." He'd say these things after making me feel like I was the problem, and I believed it, because that's what emotional manipulation feels like. It wears you down. Quietly. One evening, I got a call from Zara, my best friend from med school. She always saw things I didn't. We met for lunch. She leaned in, serious. "Samira, don't get mad, okay?" I smiled. "That's a bad start." "I don't trust him," she said flatly. I didn't say anything. She continued. "Something feels off. I saw him last week, at a hotel, with a woman. It could have been nothing, but he lied to you about where he was." I looked down at my tea. The steam blurred my vision. I whispered, "I know he's not perfect, but he's trying." She put her hand on mine. "Sometimes love isn't enough." I nodded. But in my heart, I was already folding myself smaller, trying to make it work. Then came the big one. Amir sat beside me one night, eyes red. He looked like he hadn't slept. "I need to tell you something," he said. "It's my cousin, Faizan. He's dying." I turned toward him. "What happened?" "Kidney failure. It's bad. Doctors said transplant is the only option now." My stomach turned. The words felt too close, too familiar. "I'm so sorry," I said softly. "I can talk to our transplant team. Maybe help with paperwork." "No," he said quickly. "We don't have time. We need a donor now." I blinked. "You want me to help find someone?" He took a breath. "No, I want you to be the donor." The room went quiet. I stared at him. "You want my kidney?" He nodded. "You're healthy. You're a doctor. You know how rare a match is." I felt dizzy. We'd need to test compatibility," I said. "We already did." I stared. "What?" "I spoke to a friend at a lab. I used your basic health profile. You're a match, Samira?" That didn't sit right. "You did that without asking me?" He leaned in. "If you love me, if you believe in us, please. This is my family." I was silent. He touched my face. "You saved strangers your whole life. Why not someone close?" I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed beside him, staring at the ceiling, my hand over my stomach, over the place where my kidney lived. I kept hearing my mother's voice. "Study hard, Samira. Get out of this cycle." Was I back in it? Just in different clothes? By morning? I said yes. We did the tests. They confirmed the match. The hospital board asked if I wanted to process it internally or externally. I chose externally. Too close, too personal. I signed the consent forms. Didn't read them all. I trusted him. He held my hand outside the clinic. Kissed my temple. I'll never forget this, he whispered. I smiled through the fear, but deep inside, something cracked. Not loudly, just a hairline fracture. Love shouldn't cost this much. The hospital room was cold, not freezing, just enough to feel it in my bones. My lips were dry. My throat ached. The beeping monitor next to me ticked slow, steady. My side burned. A dull, deep pain. I reached down and touched the bandages. It was real. I had done it. Given away a piece of myself. For love. I turned slowly. The chair next to my bed was empty. He said he'd be here. He promised he wouldn't leave my side, but he wasn't there. A nurse came in around noon. "Ma'am, any pain?" she asked softly. I nodded. She adjusted the IV, then paused. "There's something you should see," she whispered, carefully sliding a folder onto the side table. "What is it?" "Your discharge file, but it doesn't make sense." My fingers trembled as I opened it. Patient name: Amir Khan, organ recipient, left kidney. Donor: Dr. Samira Khan. My heart stopped. I blinked. No, that can't be. I flipped through the pages again. Checked the recipient. Same name, same ID number, same man I'd loved. There was no Faizan, no cousin, no emergency. He was the patient. I stared at the ceiling. Not a word came out, not a tear, just silence. A nurse stood quietly near the door. I finally asked, "Can I see the surgical footage?" She nodded. We reviewed it in the admin room that evening. I sat in a wheelchair, silent. There he was, walking in, laughing with one of the bribe-friendly orderlies, signing in under an alias. But the face was his. The lies were layers deep. The paperwork had been forged, stamped, even notarized under false pretenses. I knew the intern who handled the file. She looked panicked when she realized what had happened. I didn't speak, just watched myself lying unconscious, while the man I loved took my organ and walked away. He never even looked back. Later that night, I asked the finance department to check our joint account. It was empty. He'd withdrawn everything. 600,000 rupees. Gone in 3 days. My car? Sold. He had the spare key. My apartment? He never added his name to the lease. Smart or calculated. I called his phone. Switched off, I messaged him. No delivery check. I opened his social media, blocked. Everything. Everywhere. He disappeared like smoke. I sat in my office the next morning. Pale. Sore. Still in pain from the stitches. But I needed answers. I needed something to hold on to. I pulled up every message he ever sent me. Every screenshot. Every bank transaction. I lined them up on the table like a puzzle, and the picture became clear. He never gave his real name at the lab. Used mine to request the match. Results. Told me the hospital couldn't process it internally, but he was the one who insisted on using an outside clinic. Said Faizan didn't want sympathy. Now I understood why he always changed the topic when I offered to meet Faizan, why he hated when I brought him to hospital events, why he flinched when colleagues asked about his job. He was never building a life with me. He was dismantling mine. Piece by piece. Flashbacks came like waves, the late-night calls, the money transfers, the vague answers. Work trip, he'd say. No signal in the mountains. But the background noise in those calls, car horns, nightclubs, music, he was never in the mountains. He was always lying, and still. I didn't cry. I stared at my reflection in the window, pale, older, hollow-eyed, but still standing, still breathing, still me, or at least what was left of me. A junior doctor knocked on my office door. She paused. "Ma'am, are you okay?" I looked at her, young, bright, reminded me of myself once. I nodded. Yes, just tired. She didn't ask more, just left quietly. I appreciated that. That night, I went home alone. The apartment felt foreign. His cologne still lingered. I packed his things in silence. No music, no TV. Just me and the sound of the zipper closing. Then I sat on the floor, in the dark, holding a teacup he once gave me. I dropped it. Not hard. Just enough. It shattered softly. I didn't scream. I didn't break things. That wasn't me. I just sat there, watching the cup break on the floor, like it had been waiting for that moment. Just like me. The next morning, still bandaged and weak, I picked up my phone. Not to call the police. Instead, I called someone else. "Radzia," I said softly. "Can you come to the hospital and bring the files from legal?" She paused. "I'll be there in 30 minutes. Radzia was more than my legal advisor. She was a wall, silent, smart, and sharp when needed. I trusted her. I showed her everything. The false documents, the fake cousin, the patient file showing his name, the bank withdrawals, the footage. She listened, face still, then finally asked, "Do you want to press charges?" "No police," I said. "Not yet." She nodded. "I want to do this quietly," I added. "No noise, just justice." Within 24 hours, she had a team, 3 of our hospital's compliance officers, 2 cybersecurity experts, all under confidentiality clauses. We started with the files, cross-checked the recipient ID, confirmed again. The kidney went to Amir. It was airtight. He used a forged file, paid off a technician at the private lab, entered himself into the transplant list under a fake name, then used my connection, my trust, to make it happen. It was fraud, and worse. It was betrayal at a surgical level. The nurse who assisted during the procedure was called in. She looked nervous the second she stepped into the office. I offered her water, then played the security footage. Her hands began to shake. I didn't know it was him," she whispered. "He said it was a cousin. He paid me to look the other way." "How much?" I asked. She looked down. 3 lakhs. I didn't raise my voice. Just said, "You'll sign a full confession." She nodded. Tears falling now. Every lie he told had left a digital fingerprint. He used our hospital Wi-Fi to submit the altered files. He visited the lab under a fake name, but we had camera footage of him talking to the staff. He made calls from my apartment, his number connected to several illegal documents. Radzia collected everything, quietly, carefully. Then came the next step. We froze his accounts. Every rupee he took from our joint funds, gone. Legal letters were sent to every bank he touched. Signature was on the joint account. I had the right. Razia's team traced his current employer, a small ad agency in Karachi. We sent them his full fraud record. By the end of the week, they fired him. I sat in my office late that evening, staring out the window. Rain tapped gently against the glass. I hadn't seen him in weeks. But it no longer mattered, because the truth was chasing him now, and I didn't have to raise my voice to make it happen. The last thing I did was the hardest. I wrote a press release. No names, no titles, no pictures, just truth. About a woman, a doctor, who had been used. About how easy it is to fool someone who trusts too deeply. About the quiet betrayal that hides behind, "I love you." We released it under the hospital's media division. The article went viral within hours, shared by women's pages, health groups, quiet readers. People saw themselves in the story, and even though they didn't know it was me, I felt seen. One comment stayed with me. She gave her kidney, but not her soul. I closed the laptop and leaned back in my chair. That's exactly how I felt. The body heals slowly, but the heart takes its own time. 3 months after the surgery, I moved out of the apartment I once shared with Amir. I left the key on the table, took only what was mine, started fresh. My new home was smaller, quieter. White walls, large windows that caught the morning light. No memories in the corners, no shadows following me. Just space, to breathe, to exist. Each morning I made tea. Strong. 2 cardamoms. No sugar. I'd sit on the small balcony with a book, not to read it, but just to hold it. To remind myself that there was life beyond pain. That stillness wasn't emptiness. I returned to the hospital slowly, not as the CEO, not at first, just as a woman who missed her work. I started mentoring again, young doctors, mostly women. I saw the way they looked at me, eyes full of respect, but I kept my story quiet. I didn't want their pity. I wanted their strength to grow. One girl, Amina, reminded me of myself. Curious, sharp, but unsure of her worth. She stayed behind after a session one day. "Dr. Khan," she asked, "how did you become you?" I smiled, thought for a moment. I listened. I said softly, "To pain, to silence." And I didn't run from it. She blinked. "Don't rush to be strong," I added. "Just be honest." She nodded, and I knew she understood. Later that month, I opened a foundation in my mother's name. Sophia Trust, a small space, tucked between a clinic and a library. Its doors were for women like me. Women who gave too much, believed too deeply, and lost more than they should have. We offered legal guidance, counseling, and sometimes just tea and silence. A woman came in once with bruises, not on her skin, but in her voice. "He emptied my account and left," she whispered. I sat beside her, held her hand, and for the first time in a long time, I realized I wasn't the broken one anymore. I was becoming the bridge. I never looked for another relationship, not because I was bitter, but because I had found something else. Peace. In my own company. I lit candles at night, listened to soft piano, music, learned to cook the dishes my mother once made, dal with lemon, soft roti. I even started writing again, old poems, short notes to myself. One day, I found an old photo of me and my mother. She was wearing her cleaning uniform. I was young, maybe 6, sitting beside her, holding her hand. We were on the hospital steps, the very one I now ran. I touched the photo and whispered, "I did it, Ami. I became more than what they said we'd be." And for the first time, I cried. Not from pain, but from release. Healing doesn't come in loud moments. It comes in the quiet ones, like when I laughed out loud at a silly commercial, or when I hummed while folding laundry. It comes when you stop checking if the door is locked, not from fear, but because you trust the night again. Some evenings, I still thought of him, not with hate, but with distance, like looking at a stranger across a crowded train station. Someone you once knew, but no longer need to understand. I found my way back. Not all at once, but inch by inch, cup by cup, step by step, and maybe that's what healing really is. Not forgetting, but remembering, without breaking. I never spoke his name, not in the press, not in the documents, not even in my prayers. But truth, somehow, finds its way. The story went viral, not because I shared it, but because the press picked it up from the court filings. Marketing consultant fakes organ donation, steals from CEO partner. They didn't name me, but they named him Amir Hussein. His face, once so smooth with charm, was now splashed across headlines and YouTube thumbnails. He tried to deny it at first, said it was all a misunderstanding, that he was framed, but the paper trail didn't lie. Neither did the bank logs, nor the hospital cameras. One article shared screenshots from our joint account. Another leaked a voice recording from the nurse he bribed. Amir told me she'd never find out, the nurse had confessed. He said she was just a lonely woman. Those words stung more than I expected, but they also freed me, because it wasn't love he saw in me. It was an opportunity. And now, the world could see him, as he truly was. Job offers vanished. Companies distanced themselves, quietly, completely. Friends unfriended him online. Old clients stopped returning calls. One journalist wrote, he was a ghost wrapped in expensive suits. Now, not even that remains. I heard, through a friend of a friend, that he tried to leave the country, bought a fake passport. But he was stopped at the airport, questioned, fined, publicly shamed. The judge ordered him to pay restitution. Every rupee he stole, returned. Not to me, but to the foundation I built. My mother's name now sits on the check he was forced to write. Then came the final blow. A woman in another city reported him, said she had met him through a dating app. He used a different name, but same tricks. He told her a story about needing help, about love. But when he showed her a photo of his ex trying to gain sympathy, she paused. She had seen my story, recognized the suit, the hospital. She called the police. He was caught again. I didn't smile when I heard all this, but I did sit very still. Tea in hand, wind brushing against the curtains, and I whispered something. My mother once said, "You don't need to chase justice, just stand still long enough, and it will pass right by your door." The garden behind the hospital is quiet this morning. I walk slowly along the stone path, my coat wrapped around me. The breeze is soft, almost shy, like it's trying not to disturb me. Birdsong in the distance, leaves dancing on the ground. A nurse walks by, nods gently. I nod back. My hand drifts to my left side. The scar is still there, faint, but real. A reminder of what was taken, and what was never truly lost. I used to walk this same path with my mother. She'd finish her cleaning shift and meet me by the fountain. She'd bring tea in a flask, wrapped in a towel to keep it warm. We'd sit together on a bench, legs dangling. Her hands always rough from scrubbing floors. She'd say, "One day you'll wear a white coat, not carry a mop." And then she'd smile, always proud. Even before there was anything to be proud of. Now I sit alone, but I don't feel alone. I think of the women I meet now, through the foundation. Women with eyes like mine, with stories like mine, with hearts that broke but didn't stop beating. They remind me of myself, or maybe they remind me of the girl I used to be. The one who thought love meant giving everything, even when the other person gave nothing back. I don't hate Amir. I don't think of him often. He was a chapter, not the whole book. He taught me something I should have known sooner. Loving someone should never cost you yourself. I rise from the bench and walk back toward the building. A patient in a wheelchair smiles at me. I smile back. Not the kind of smile that hides pain, but one that knows it, has walked through it. Kodubara. Individually full word count mein leak power. That's the word that echoes in me now. Not because I run a hospital. Not because I won a legal battle. But because I found my way back. To me. And I won't lose myself again.